item for you to review or 2 items for you to review.
On the desktop?
Yeah.
I'm just getting an echo from you. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Cool. All right. Well, we call this one if you can feel it, you can heal it. I tried saying that about 3 times before we got on here, and it came out wrong every single time. So happy that the all the practice that we put in before every live show is really coming into effect here.
All those tens of thousands of dollars that we've spent on how to go live, huh?
Yeah, you gotta really practice before you get on these things. So, so with that in mind, how's everyone doing? Landon, what's going on? Kim, nice to see you. Please say hello. Feel free. And I called it that because I find life so interesting. You can be flying really high, get really low, fly really high, and all that can happen in just like a matter of no time flat. So every time now I'm in like a little bit of a lull period, I think to myself, you know what, 24 hours from now, this is going to feel so different. And it does, and then maybe feels really good, and then it kind of like it's like riding waves. It really is like riding waves. So like
something you know a lot about.
What?
Something you know a lot about.
I look at the ocean a ton. I stare at it. I see waves constantly. So
Guy's been in San Diego for 5 years now.
Just past 5 years, yeah.
Which just for people that don't know San Diego, it is literally the mecca of the world for surfing. It is also the mecca of the world for learning to surf because it's the easiest breaks and like there's no coral reef to kill you, and it's just like, and I'm like, how have you not gone out and surfed? And
dude, I went one time. I went one time. That's not true. Don't make false statements on our Facebook Live. This is a sacred ground, you bastard. So I do though. I live 4 blocks off the beach.
Yeah,
not just in San Diego, where it's like San Diego's a surf place. I don't know if it's the premier in the world. There's really good surf out here. I live in like the surf town, though, for sure. Like there's a statue of a surfer like in my town.
So I go to visit Guy the first time ever, and it's like my first. I mean, I've been to San Diego before, but it was like my first time kind of seeing the place with someone who's lived in San Diego, not as just a tourist, and like visiting all the sites and stuff. And we're driving down the road. It was like Tuesday at, I don't know, like 11 a.m. or something. And I see a mom in a wet. Who the heck is calling me? Oh, Dalton.
Yep.
Dalton, don't you know we're live, dude? And I see a mom walking in a wetsuit with a surfboard on her head, holding it with like one hand, and then holding a little girl's hand who can't be more than 7 years old, she's in her own wetsuit, holding her own surfboard. And I'm like, there's San Diego.
That's San Diego for you. So let me get my microphone a little closer to me. Yeah, so there's that, which has nothing to do with any of this. But I'm really happy we talked about all that. That's like saying, well, it's not like exactly the same, but it's like saying, hey, there's really good biking trails by you. How come you don't go biking all the time? You know, it's just it either works or it doesn't. So maybe one day will. Anyway, with that said, so last week was interesting. I went to go see. I work with this amazing, magnificent human being out here. On all this incredible energy work and really just learning how to take different frequencies that we're all experiencing, especially when you've had big experiences like with plant medicine or meditation. There's all sorts of stuff you're experiencing, and then a lot of us don't have really any type of education on how to stabilize fields, how to stabilize frequencies or anything like that. So I've been working with him for the last 6 months. And a lot of this has to do with removing, not I don't want to say this is the intention. There's a probability and possibility of removing energy blockages. And as you do this, energy is going to start flowing and moving through you, which could oftentimes lead to, maybe some physical experiences or emotional experiences that you're very used to being resistant of, trying to change, overcome, and overpower. So last week I went with him and his girlfriend and my girlfriend. We went up to Los Angeles to go see this healer. His name is Abdi. You guys can do research on him if you want. I don't really know what Abdi's speciality is, but if you've ever read like Michael Singer's book and Surrender Experiment, and he talks about a healer coming by and touching his third eye to activate him, and then people are just kind of like falling to the ground. It had that in it, and my experiences really wasn't that big. However, ever since that day, and even just what was happening around that week, was just a lot of really heavy energy, and I mean heavy like weight on me, stuff that feels like it's, you know, kind of choking you or just restricting like airflow and different things like that. And regardless of how much training you've had, there is definitely some alarm that seems to occur in the system when stuff like that is going on, because the system is trying to counteract it, right? It's trying to change it. Your mind is trying to go this way and that way and resist it in every which way. And as many times as that happened in my life, 15 years of education, there's never been enough education to constitute anything really changing in my life as far as, you know, emotional experiences that are happening. And there are long periods of peace and long periods of power and all these different things that have been in my life. And then it's funny because when you're in those moments, like when you're in that flow, you feel like you've gotten past something, you know, like it, oh, okay, well, that's no longer an issue, you know? And then of course something happens and it becomes an issue again. And then there's the disappointment behind it of, oh, I thought this wasn't an issue anymore. It's like, okay, then we got to go through this again. And I'm sure we've all experienced that. So last week was a bit of that, not a bit of that, a lot of that, both in my heart and my stomach. And a lot of it, there were like different things that happened in my life that created like acute stress very quickly. And I've definitely noticed for me, and I'm sure you would agree, like I deal with a lot of anxiety. And I don't want to say like deal with, like I'm like things cause me anxiety very quickly. I feel very, even if other things are going on in other people's lives that are around me, like I somehow feel liable for it. So there's a lot of this just weight going on. And what was different about this experience is it has a lot to do with working with Andrew, has a lot to do with the work Elon and I have done over the last year and a half, 2 years. And we train on this for sure. And I see the same thing coming up for our students, which is just this focus on that whatever is going on right now, it's more important to feel through something than understand what's exactly happening, right? Because I've spent a lifetime trying to figure out why I feel these things. Like why does anxiety occur this way? Why do I shut down sometimes? Why can't I use my voice at times? Why are other times it projects? And I saw this part of myself over this past weekend, it's like the stubborn part. It's the part that doesn't want to let go. It's the part that doesn't want to change, even though I desire the change. Like I want to change, right? There's these parts of me that I'm just like, enough already, like give up. You know, like I'm here, I'm good. Well, let's surrender. You don't need to freak the fuck out anymore. Just relax. And what I realized is that even that was resistance to the stubbornness. Now that's more of I need to overcome the stubbornness. If only I didn't have stubbornness in my life, then I'd be good, right? And all these different things, because it doesn't feel good to feel stubborn, or not, or I don't even feel like, I think to myself, I'm not stubborn, right? Like I'm so willing to have this change, but I can feel this little part of me like dig in, and then when people give me feedback on it, it's not like, oh cool, thanks for the feedback. It's digging in even more, becoming more stubborn, even though I'm sitting there watching this thing get more stubborn, and I'm like, the fuck, dude, like easy, relax, you know? So it was this really interesting thing because, you know, one of the things that we train on is, hey, whatever's going on in your life, can you love it? However you feel right now, can you love it? And if the answer to that question is no, I can't love this right now, then can you love that you can't love it? Because there's a part of you that can't love it. And that part needs love also. Because that part is not going to overcome anything, and you're not going to overcome that part either. You get to be in the acceptance of all things, and the acceptance of all things that you are, and all the sensations that you're having, and all the experiences that are coming into your life that have been chosen for you, right? And all these different things. So it was like this moment where I recognized that there's this part of me, that energy of stubbornness that hasn't been loved, that I'm more like, get away from me. In fact, I don't want to say detest is a bit of a strong word, but like I detest my stubbornness. I actually don't enjoy being stubborn at all. And yet there are definitely parts of me, like these defensive parts that come in and then, you know, play that game. And I see that I'm not gonna have freedom by thinking that I can become unstubborn, or that I'll overpower unstubborn, or that I'll somehow get mentally tough enough that when things happen, the anxiety won't come in, and then I won't have that stubbornness. It's unlikely. So that's kind of what I'm playing with right now.
Yeah.
Did I lose you?
No. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Can you guys still hear me? Because I
I
kind
can
of
hear
lost you on a bit.
I can hear you.
I'm not sure if it's coming from my end or his end.
Can you guys hear me?
Not sure if it's coming from my end. Oh, you can. Okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Okay. Let me refresh on my side, but you go ahead.
Okay, cool. Just a quick
Just on
question.
Be Live, it's clunky for some reason.
Is that was that all the stuff that kind of got unpacked starting on Thursday? Oh, I may have lost him. Well, I can add to that. It was really interesting. Guy and I don't know if any of I can't see who's on here right now, but I don't know if any of the people who are in our coaching programs and work with us hand in hand, there's this synchronicity that you tend to fall into with one another when you're working with each other. And Guy and I are definitely in that space. And it's funny how recently I think more and more. Bro, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I was just asking before if this is the stuff that kind of started getting unpacked on Thursday.
You know what? It started happening earlier in the week for sure. I think Marcy, like that whole week, this whole last week, that was the theme. Like I'm still feeling heavy, to be honest. Like it's like everything hasn't moved through. So it's been kind of like sunshine and clouds, just moving in over and over again. Like suddenly I feel great, and then suddenly it's like something pulls me back in.
Yeah.
So yeah, like this weekend was a little bit heavy for me, and then we had an experience and like lightened my load. I woke up today and I still have just a lot of stuff here, like weight again, and nothing is happening. And then, you know, what's challenging is it's like you wake up on a Monday, right? Like today, I want to be really motivated and work and do all these things, and I see my brain trying to figure out what's going on. Did I add a supplement in? Is it that there's something I ate this weekend? And like doing all the things that it wants to do, it's kind of funny to watch because like I just want to wake up today and like have a big fucking smile on my face and like enjoy life. And it's this stuff. It's like having like anchors tied to you, and it's kind of like dragging you down. And I don't quite know why. What I do enjoy about it now, and it's kind of like what you dealt with that and all this stuff. It's like, here's an opportunity to feel deeper. And when I go into my meditations, when I go into my meditations, what I find is there's a new depth to them when I can let go. But of course, like my mental wish is like, yeah, get out of here. Let's stop dealing with it. Yeah.
Well, I was saying that what's really interesting is that I think more and more you and I have been going through very similar energistic fields and realms at very similar times. Not necessarily the same thing triggering them. And it's just this very, like, we both had a really, really heavy emotional week. And a couple of things I wrote down while you were talking is one, you know, our perceptions create our worlds. There is no sensation other than the one that the perception creates. The thing that really became clear to me, specifically on Thursday and moving forward of last week, for those of you guys that didn't catch it, my dad last week. So on Monday, I drove to his house and I helped him move some stuff, and we embraced and said goodbye. And he just broke down in my arms, which had me break down in his arms. And I just left, and it was like really, really painful because I think it became really clear to both of us and really real that he was leaving. And then on Thursday, he ended up leaving, which was a day earlier than he was supposed to. And he left, and that morning he was in my driveway dropping off some last minute stuff. And again, we embraced, and it was just like even worse than on Monday. And for the next hour, I was just completely out of fucking sorts. And what I've really started to tune into is that there's two perceptions. There's perceptions of mind, and there's perceptions of body. And the body doesn't have an ability to lie. The body just has an ability to experience, and the experience comes from the oldest of programs. It is the most innate trigger to what is occurring in your life. And so when my dad left on Thursday, that was in the morning. Then I finally got myself together, and I was like, okay, I need to get out of this bed, because I was literally just like crying into a pillow for an hour. And I was like, I'm just going to go eat. I need to like change my state. I need to do something. I'm going to go eat. I'm going to go work out. And I finished eating. My dad calls me and he's like, hey, you want to come meet me for lunch? Right after I'd finished lunch. But I was like, look, I'll just come meet you and we'll sit. So right after that I met him at 12:45. We ended up leaving. We're not doing that same goodbye, because that was just horrible. And we left. I came back and I had a coaching call with Marcy, and look, everything's so perfect. I'm just so grateful that I was in that state when we got on that call, because I think if I even had a day to process what had happened, I wouldn't have gone there. But I was so emotionally raw, like the wound was so open. And I absolutely knew that what I was experiencing. So I don't know how many of you guys have followed us and to what level, but I just want to share real quick. So there's a concept called samskaras, and samskaras are basically when you have any trigger, any emotional riling up of any sort in your life, at that moment, a samskara is created. And the samskara is like your emotional, your thought, what's happening in the body, the visual, the smell, the everything. Imagine like it gets like wrapped into a snow globe, right? And then you just swallow it and bury it deep down inside. And then all these samskaras are trying to do your entire life is be released. Because just like everything else, right, it has its own energistic process. The problem is that when these things get triggered, it fucking hurts, right? And what do we do when we feel pain? We will do anything to avoid the pain. We will drug ourselves. We will knock ourselves out. We will alcohol, whatever your process is. It's like, I choose not to feel this. This is too much pain, right? And so I'm feeling all of this pain, and I am clear in my head that this pain has I shouldn't say nothing to do with, but this pain is not this painful because of this one instance. It's a pain that's really, really old, and it's this old wound. And I know it because not only am I feeling the pain, but I'm having like flashes of leaving Israel when I was 7 and then crying my eyes out. My grandparents leaving when they would visit here. Guy leaving, like every time I have felt this exact pain and I'm experiencing it, I'm going, okay, this is a massive opportunity for me to heal this once and for all. And so I actually let myself be with the pain. Now on this call with Marcy, which was fucking amazing, what I couldn't really understand up until Thursday is the difference between the mind experiencing something and the body experiencing something, and how entirely separate the two are. So what I had to do, or what I got the opportunity to do, was actually play in both worlds. I got to play in the mind world, and I got to play in the actual feel this in the body and speak from the body, not speak from the mind. Because what got triggered in my body was from when I was 3, I had this instance where I woke up. Our parents, I'm not going to get into the whole story, but I woke up at 3, walked around the house. My parents weren't there. I freaked the fuck. I'm 3, like what assumptions do you make? Your parents fucking left you. Like you're done. You're dead. Like you're on your own. It's over. Right. And that kind of created my core identity. And so obviously, like, every time someone leaves or I leave, guess what gets triggered? That same exact wound. And by the way, just as a side note, I have dealt with that, because to what Guy was saying, like, I should be over this, right? Guy has heard me deal with that story at least 1,000 times. Okay. So like I've done it at least 10 to 20,000 times in my own way. And like, so as I'm feeling this and I'm saying this, I'm like, not fucking again. Like, really? We still going back to this thing? And thank God Marcy was like, yeah, tell me about it and go back there. So what I realized was, like, in my mind and consciously, I didn't feel abandoned. I didn't feel like my dad left me. I didn't feel all alone. Like I didn't feel any of those things. Because rationally, this brain is really fucking good and really fucking trained. Like it knows, right? It was already doing all the things it knows to do to make the situation not only bearable, but like to find the positive in it and all that stuff, right? There's like 16 years worth of training up here. And yet that made no difference to my body. My heart literally felt like anvils with hooks were on it, pulling it down with like 1,000 pounds, to the point that when I was sitting and talking on the phone, I started the call like I couldn't even lift my head. I was just like down like this. And we went through a whole bunch of different exercises, which were really, really powerful. And the last one was an exercise to recreate the memory. Because at the end of the day, I'm 3 years old, right? Think about like any memory that you have. Do you think that over a 5-year span, a 10-year span, a 20-year span, that memory has been altered in some way, shape, or form in your mind? That your mind has done something to it to fit along your guidelines? So like I've had conversations with my parents. The story actually kind of went the way I actually remember it, which is surprising for a 3-year-old to remember it that vividly. But again, it was that traumatic. And we live in a not even dual, like multi-level timeline thing where everything's happening at once. So what's to say that you can't literally skip a timeline and live in a different timeline? And I've done it in other areas of my life. And so I go through this process and I literally create an entirely new memory where I wake up and I walk into the parents' room, they're not there, and then I walk into the living room and they're not there, and I'm a little bit scared. I'm a little bit like, oh my God. And then I walk into the kitchen and they're there. And the beauty is, like, I've had my kids wake up in the middle of the night and come into my room, so I can actually feel this experience from both angles. And I just had this vision where they're like, Ilani, like, what are you doing? What are you doing up, babe? Like, why are you up? And I was like, I had a bad dream or I had a bad thought or whatever. And they're like, oh, and they like give me this huge hug and they walk me back to my bed and they give me, we call it spinka. It's like basically like back tickles. And I fall asleep in their arms feeling so protected and so loved and so secure. And as I'm doing this, I literally feel, so like you imagine chakras or, just go up your meridian all the way up to like the crown of your forehead, the crown of your head. So what was happening is everything was being blocked here. Like I couldn't breathe past up here. I had no sensations anywhere else. It was just like it stopped in my chest and stopped. And as I'm doing this, I actually feel, like Michael Singer talks about, I feel my heart begin to open. And I feel like little bubbles of energy start to come up and through. And all of a sudden, I instead of being hunched, I put my head back on my chair and my arms are out and I just start feeling tingles everywhere, up and down my body. And then I know this is like really taking hold when my brain and like the top of my head just starts buzzing. Like, I mean, fucking buzzing. And I'm like breathing into it and experiencing it. And as this is happening, the next thing just rocked me. I start seeing my brain actually go in and reprogram memories. So I had this other memory that popped in as we were doing the exercise before where my dad was going to the military to some sort of training or something when we were in Israel. And I got so scared because I was sure that he was going, because at this point I was like 5 or 6 and I was sure he was going to die. Like I was sure he was going to get shot. Like that's where my head went. And I remember being so scared, and the same thing probably from when I was 3 just got triggered. And yet as I'm experiencing all this, I actually had like the whole thing just reprogrammed in my mind. And I felt dad just hugging me and loving on me. And again, I felt so safe and so secure. And I absolutely knew that he was coming back and all that stuff. And I'm sitting there and this is happening because my eyes are closed and I'm just in awe. I'm like, holy fucking shit. It was like, I jumped the timeline and then the timeline, I could like see the readjusted timeline. So then this weekend happens and I go to my in-laws, which by the way, I heard a really cool thing. Instead of in-laws, calling them outlaws. which is kind of cool. I was like, that's kind of cool, like little renegade outlaws. But anyway, and I'm going into this house, and it's my my in-laws, and so my brother, his wife has their whole family. Everyone's in Delaware, and we're just sitting around this table, and I'm so present and so moved to how much love of family is in this room. It was like walking into a huge fucking bear hug. It felt so good to be in that space. And I realized how perfect that aligned with where I was and my experience. And then I get to go and walk into and experience that energy. And I'm telling you that if I didn't have that experience on Thursday, even walking into that room with all the love and all that stuff, my heart would have been blocked, because I would have been dealing with all the pain, and I would have walked into that situation, and instead of experiencing love and support and all that stuff, I would have experienced loss. I would have experienced like, I don't get to have this anymore, and this is gone from me, and this is that. And I just sat there with my heart, and I just noticed how open it was. And I was like, I kept just taking these breaths and being so grateful that A, we have this work, that B, guy, we have each other, because like you held such great space for me to go through that. And I know I spent like, you know, we have a set time, like Guy didn't say a word. He just allowed me to go through my process. He knew where I was, even with him going through so much of his own shit. And I can honestly tell you, like, other than ayahuasca, I have never, maybe one other time with that breakthrough I had with Sue, but like very, very, very few moments in my life where I physically, like physiologically in the body, feel healed. Like I had conversations with mom, it was so different. I was like, my reality, like I'm looking at things and they're entirely different just because of that 1 hour of work that we got to do. I mean, I have chills just talking about it. I honestly don't remember the last time I had such a earth rocking, mind expanding breakthrough.
That's very profound.
It was
it's very, very NLP, you know, like what do you see, what do you hear, what do you feel? And just shifting that to kind of have a different relationship with it.
And I've done it before.
I would underscore that the body seemed like it was ready to make that shift.
That's exact. So that's what I'm saying. Like I've done that exact exercise before on that exact memory.
Yeah.
I think what was really, really interesting to notice is that previously was at a conscious cerebral level, right? Like we could do all that work. What I was so in the moment, and the wound was so open that I literally experienced like a massive fucking samskara, like leaving my body.
Yeah, it's like you had access because of the depth of the emotion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what, here's the thing, like I really, really want to drive home. And this is even to you, Guy, because like this is something that I think we're both experiencing. We're at this point where we are such a request to release these samskaras. And the ones that we've released, we've been doing this for so long, man. Like the little ones have been released. The little, like, we had some big ones in the beginning and some big pops, but even those were like the ones that are on the surface and they just create the good feeling. But like now, dude, the stubborn, what was the word that she used? I can't remember the word that Marcy said about you. Intolerant? Is that what the word was?
Oh yeah, the Gene Keys.
Yeah.
It's something like intolerance. Yeah.
Intolerance. Dude, she said it and like my body was just like, wow, what a beautiful word. And for your experience and like how I've seen you go through stuff, and the stuff that we're just unpacking right now is so core that when it shows up, it's like a hammer to the face. It's no longer this like, oh, this is really cute. Like I want to look at this area of my life. it's just jarring. It is like, this is so strangely uncomfortable. And what I realized in doing this work is like, it's in those moments when it is really uncomfortable, when it is really painful, when it is really in your face, to just be like, this is the perfect opportunity for me to sit here and tune into my body and feel every fucking ounce of this.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it pointing to? Where is it coming from? How far back do I remember this feeling? Like, what was that experience like? All that stuff. Because the weight that I feel that was released that I didn't even know was there. Wow. Just wow. And I have so much excitement now for like feeling that next pain in my body so that I get to do this practice again. Man, it was otherworldly. And again, like I've done this exercise before, just not in the moment where I was fucking in it, like in so much pain.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Just beautiful.
I mean, so there's something in there about, the ability to have a thought and then really draw up that emotion to get that level of access. I think behind it is something I keep seeing for myself is that there's still like a lot of that stubbornness comes from it's supposed to be hard in some way. Not like this gets to be fun and easy. It's like, why does this still feel like there's like the hard work needs to be done? And I'm not saying that like there's not some efforting and maybe everything that we do, but it could be like a very small part of the experience versus like all the way through having to effort. And I think effort is a lot in the mind. Bernard had mentioned perhaps your faith in Marcy allowed your body to be wide open. I think it's way too easy to point at one thing in any situation. There are so many variables across every single experience that we're having. I mean, it could have taken 15 years to have that single moment, to be prepared for that moment, 100%. For the body to release that moment. A million things could have happened along the way. And yes, I would say, yeah, and sure, work with Marcy, that would be a big part of it. So like I keep looking for myself too, because that's definitely what I'm noticing is I'm getting more access as I practice this. Yeah, I'm getting more access to the emotions. So it's like when I want to bring up like an emotion, like I had a very similar thing. Like the thing that it's funny because it's only been the last few years. What comes up for me is like standing in school at 5 years old, crying in the hallway. And like I kind of tuned into that, and the reason I say that is I have a lot of emotion. Even when I think about that now, like I always get like that. I well up behind my eyes, like the tears and stuff. And that seems again so silly to me because of the amount of times I've thought about that memory. All the different perceptions that I have of it, like all the things I've come to, and then now it's funny. I was like closing my eyes, I was checking on the memory, and how big that remember that center hallway. Like looks in my mind, it's like a fucking Grand Canyon. That's how alone I feel in that moment. And it's kind of like what you said, you do these neurolinguistic programming type of things where it's like, hey, change the shape, change the size, change the perception, right? So you change the way you feel, change what you're seeing, change what you're hearing. That's what the memory is tied to. That's where the perception is coming from. I like that. I do like that. I've definitely, every time I've done that, I can feel I'm responding different. I'm always concerned with anything that the mind is doing is that it's tricking you, that it's tricking you to the next perception, but it's still anchored to that emotional state. Do you know what I mean? And then the one thing that I feel that really does make the shift is really going in there and fully embracing that experience, going through it, just allowing it to go through the motion without really any expectation. And that's what I find is like you're going through the motion, there's a release, and the mind's like, hey, good. And that's like the expectation because that's like it's supposed to feel this way. More interesting for me these days is to like, can we release the thoughts behind what's good and what's bad, and just be with that the body is doing things, and even like heaviness, right? Yeah, like when you say heaviness, like everybody goes, they get what you mean. It's like negative. Oh, you're having a negative experience. I'm sorry you're having that, and it's like, well, that doesn't have to be either. Heaviness in the body doesn't have to be a negative perception. So I was going through my own stuff this week, and I thought to myself, there's this feeling in my body, and I thought, well, what can I thank this for? Like, what has it always provided? Because it's been here for such a long period of time. Hey, Shia. And I'm like, I'm like, what can this perception give me? And I realized it's motivated me to do all this work. You know, like for 15 years, I've done work because this thing pops in and out. And when it pops in, I'm like, oh, there's something else to look at. But if I could say anything and thank you to, it's like, thank you so much. You've continuously been the driving force between for me becoming a more conscious person, a more loving person, a more connected person, one that feels themselves more, understands themselves more. And we don't think about these things like that very often. We think about what they're taking away from me. And that's a lot of times what my focus is on. It's like, what is this thing robbed for me, not what is it given me? And it's just like what we do to our parents. You know, we blame them for all the bad, but we don't admire them for all the good, and we single focus. So that was a bit of a shift. And I think that was the beginning of me just when it comes in being like, oh, all right, cool. Hey, welcome. You know, let's play a little bit instead of, oh, fuck, you're back again. You know, like that kind of perception.
Yeah, I don't have that. Like, I mean, I hear it, you know, like even in that moment where she was like, you know, what was that early experience? And I was like, you know, again, like we're really going to go at this again. And I'm clear, like there's always another level. There's always another cut. There's always another perception. I'm so happy I did, because what was interesting is like almost like a book that you read a million times, but you're just at a different place every single time. You know, I said the word and she was writing it down and like said it back to me, you know, the same way that we do with our people. And I said the word, and I think for the first time ever, I said the word, I'm bad. And, you know, like, because I'm a loser, I don't even know what the word I'm a loser is. And I've always kind of tagged it to that. But like in Hebrew, I didn't even know that, but like in Hebrew, anira is like so simple, you know, like it really, and as I said it, I was like, ooh, there's some stuff there around that word. And it's, I mean, I'm bad, I'm a loser. It's kind of the same thing. It's not like there was like a revelation. It was just really interesting to hear myself say that. And the one thing, and I think Journey of Souls really allowed me to see it from this perspective as we were doing that, is like my soul chose that experience to be the first of my experience and the first of my core programs. It chose it. Like that's just written stuff, right? And so to have that mindset, like as I'm in that pain, to actually go back there and look at why did my soul choose this experience for myself? And then have the opportunity to kind of look through my entire life and all the gifts that moment, which I experienced so much pain in at the time, has provided for me. And for you, honestly, for you guys listening right now, also, like, I am this because of that exact moment. And even that allowed me to just like breathe differently and all that stuff. But like that sentence of mom and dad love and trust me, just, and you know, as I'm looking through my life, like that is my experience of mom and dad. I never had any other experience. And yet to the body, the abandonment, the alone, the bad, the, you know, I'm all alone, I'm going to die, blah, blah, blah. Like to the body, that was very real. And for the first time, I actually feel in my body different about all of it. It's not like here anymore that I had to convince myself and like do all the fucking ninja mind stuff. Like, it just feels different. It's brilliant. Like guys, this work is everything. And I mean, this is the kind of work that we do with our people. It's just, you know, when you're experiencing it, to have someone, this is like why we hire a coach, because we can do all this stuff to ourselves. And it's so brilliant to have someone else just kind of like on the outside looking in, the way that we do with our clients, to offer that perspective and really take them down that process, because you're not emotionally attached in it. You can always kind of see from the outside. Sure. And it's just, man, it was like the chocolate sauce, cherry, and whipped cream on top of this like beautiful cake that we've been building for the year. It was just magic.
I didn't realize it was such a profound experience for you.
Oh,
I feel like we've been opening a lot of doors recently. So like even with Columbia coming up and everything else, it's like just asking for things to come to the surface, like in preparation.
Yeah.
So
oh, for sure.
go see an alien in Los Angeles. He'll open up some channels. There's some aliens down waiting for you in Colombia. That'll open up some channels. And it's funny because it's like in the moment, it's so easy to forget this relationship between you and what you're asking for.
Yeah.
And how these like perceptions come because of experiences like these. Like there were definitely few things that happened last week. And it's like I'm looking at my response and I'm thinking to myself, that's an irrational response to what's occurring. You know, like it could be handled so much more gracefully. And then there's something behind that about, you know, like how I'm supposed to show up and who I'm supposed to be. And that's like, we're past this shit. And it really doesn't matter like how long you've been working on anything. It's like you said, having a mirror of somebody showing up around you to just help you with that, because we're all, you know, pretty much blind to our own stuff.
Yeah. Oh my God, big time.
All right. So
amazing, man. Thanks for letting me share that, guys.
Awesome share. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Guys, feel free to go ahead and grab our app in the iOS and Android store. You can go to satoriprime.com/app to download it for free. There's a 10-part mini masterclass in there. You won't see Shaya's bare little chest belly if you do that. And we have our next live webinar coming up next Wednesday, I believe.
Not this Wednesday, the following Wednesday.
Yeah, next Wednesday. So if you go to go.satoriprime.com, come join us live. It's our personal power manifestation series. We do a training every 2 weeks, so come and join that. And you can also find out about how you can continue working with us if this is your flavor. All right, guys, love you so much. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you here next week.
Bye, everyone.